The Wolves football team keeps plowing through a tough conference schedule, and this week they faced off against the second-place team in the standings, Emory Henry. Wolves Weekly's own Keagan Judd visits us in the studio. And what is it like for an international student athlete to come all the way to Newberry to compete? We'll have the story, all this and more on Wolves Weekly. From the Langford Center studios at Newberry College, I'm Tucker Moore.
And I'm Philip Wade. Welcome back to Wolves Weekly.
The Newberry College football team just keeps on winning and have now won 5 straight going into an important matchup versus Emory Henry. The Wolves were 6-1 and hoping to stay on top of the standings in the conference. Unfortunately, we were not able to get the footage for the highlights that we wanted, but we are here to cover the game for you anyways. On Saturday, October 25th, the Newberry Wolves played Emory Henry on Setzler Field. The game began with Emory Henry taking the opening drive and using up nearly 7 minutes, accumulating 65 yards on 13 plays, then scoring a touchdown to take the 7-0 lead. But the Wolves quickly responded with Quez Spells scoring a touchdown after the turnover to tie the score 7-7. However, the Wasps took the lead right back with a 95-yard kickoff return touchdown, bringing the score 14-7. They then drove 71 yards for another touchdown at the beginning of the second quarter, building their lead 21-7. After falling behind, Reed Sharpia completed 3 critical third down passes on the next drive, including an 11-yard completion to Spells, an 8-yard connection with Jonah Norris, and an incredible diving catch by Xavier Preston, which set up Burke Nettles to score a 37-yard field goal, followed by Spells with a 17-yard touchdown run. By halftime, the Wolves were still up 21-16, but the Wasps were catching up.
The second half of the game started with Newberry's offense coming out strong, where the Wolves drove 69 yards on 12 plays, taking up nearly 7.5 minutes off the clock. Reed Sharpia's 6-yard touchdown pass to Keith Desessor finally gave the Wolves a 22-21 lead against the Wasps. On Emory Henry's first drive of the second half, the Wolves defense came up with their second turnover of the game as Santori Jones intercepted a pass tipped by a linebacker, Devron Williams, at Emory Henry's 39-yard line. This set up another score for the Wolves by running back Grayson White to Jacory Martin, who scored from 2 yards out to extend the Wolves' lead to 29-21. The Wasps responded with an 87-yard touchdown drive, bringing the score up to 29-27 early into the fourth quarter. Newberry answered with a 29-yard touchdown pass from Sharpia to DeAndre Coleman, who scored and held Newberry's lead 36-27. In the final moments, the Wasps drove to Newberry's 32-yard line, but Avery McFadden made a crucial one-handed interception. Emory Henry scored with a touchdown with just 47 seconds left of the game, but Newberry recovered the onside kick and ran out the clock, finishing the game with a score of 36-34. The win marked their 5th consecutive win, keeping them in first place in the South Atlantic Conference. With the win, Newberry improved to 7-1 overall and 6-1 in conference play. The Wolves will travel to Anderson on November 1st for a first-ever meeting with the Trojans at 4 p.m.
And it's just another week, another heart-pounding victory for the Wolves, Philip. And, just watching that game and really watching this team this year, it's been so cool for Newberry to get back to their winning ways, with their 2 conference championships this decade in 2021, 2022, 10-win seasons. 2023 and 2024 took a step back last year going 3-7. It's kind of a shock just knowing how Coach Knight has this program, being a contender year in and year out. So it's really cool seeing us get back to that. And especially this year, with their 5 consecutive victories, all of them have been pretty close, like one-score games, overtime games, you know, over the biggest opponents in the conference. And, you know, going back to this win versus Emory and Henry, you know, this was perhaps the biggest one of the year, you know, with them being firmly in second place. Getting a win like this was crucial, but what is it, you know, from the outside looking in, what do you think is different this year that they've gotten back to, you know, like those previous conference championship years that they were missing like last year?
Yeah, I think a lot of the success comes back to offensive coordinator Cole Watson, who was son of defense coordinator Drew Watson. You know, back in the days, like during the two conference championship wins, Newberry was known for their offense, you know, having like high scoring games and all that. Newberry this year, they ended up scoring at least 30 points in 6 or 8 games. The past couple of years, we hadn't had like large scoring games like that lately. So thanks to his contributions to the offense, it helped give Newberry that push they needed, that life in the offense that they needed, because the defense has always been really good. It's been a stable in Newberry College. But since Cole Washington came back, you know, got the offense kicking and jumping again, that's why we're #1 in sack right now.
Yeah. I think it's clear to see that they're just playmakers all across that offense. And, you know, not to take anything away from the defense, you know, because they've got guys on that side of the ball that have been forcing turnovers, getting key stops. And, you know, you see it in the result of, you know, their record right now and their standing in the conference. But, you know, we're really excited for they have just two games left. And next week they take on Anderson University for the first time ever. But Wolves Weekly will be back in a moment.
For decades, I've taught you everything I know. How to safely build a fire, and how to control the flames. But I can only teach wildfire prevention. Only you can prevent wildfires.
Welcome back to Wolves Weekly. I'm Courtney Belton. Joining me today in the studio from Wolves Weekly, but also to talk about the wrestling team, is Keagan Judd. Keagan, thank you so much for coming into the studio today. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me.
That's wonderful. So I would just like to get into your background in the beginning. Where are you from? I know you're from Stevenson, Virginia, but how was that a culture shock coming to Newberry, South Carolina?
It's not really that much different. Like, the areas are typically the same, small houses. But it's colder in Virginia than it is in South Carolina. That was a big change.
Interesting. So another thing I'd like to ask is, how do you feel that wrestling has shaped you as a man?
I feel like it shaped me as a man very well. You know, when I was 5, I found my mom dead, and then when I was 10, I found my grandma dead. So wrestling has always been my coping mechanism. Anytime I had a bad day or anything, I just go to the wrestling room. So wrestling has taught me a lot about life. So life is not going to break me mentally.
I'm very, very compassionate for you for that. So another question for you about wrestling. How do you feel that it has shaped you into who you are today?
It's a big part of me. I've been wrestling since I was 6. It's been all my life. So without wrestling, I don't know who I would be, to be honest.
Now, Keagan, I know that there are some dietary restrictions, maybe, you know, things that you have to train for. How do you feel like it affects you mentally, physically? What are the preparations that come into wrestling?
I mean, we wrestled this past Saturday on the baseball field, and the whole week, I've been dieting since July, so I haven't been cheating on it since July. So it's basically just smaller portions, a lot of calories, a lot of stuff that you can burn off fast. No like fattening foods, not stuff with a whole lot of fat in it, but it definitely changes your mental and going to school too, because you're going to have to cut weight going to school, and you got to take tests and go to classes, and you're mentally tired, so it's definitely hard.
Now, what would you say is the perfect balance for you? So I know that you're involved in Wolves Weekly in the studio with us as well. You do wrestling, as well as being a student athlete. Now that's a lot of roles to take on. So what is your best time management? Do you have a routine? How does your daily routine look for you?
I wake up in the morning. First, you got to brush your teeth, make your bed. That's number one. Do that every day. And then shower, and then go to my classes. And then in between classes, might go get a workout in, come back, do some homework. I got to do homework during the day because I have practice at 3:30, and after practice, I'm just so mentally tired just the whole day. So I got to do my homework during the day, and then late at night, got to go to bed early. Wake up, repeat the whole process again.
Now, Keagan, I understand that since we're in the studio here at Wolves Weekly, and you're in the studio, usually behind the cameras, helping out with production and everything, and you see it being made, you know, when students are walking throughout the cafeteria. How has your perspective changed from being behind the scenes to now being on camera and throughout the studio as well?
It's definitely, you know, a game changer. Like you think, oh, I can do this, I can do that, but then when you're really in the moment doing it, oh yeah, hats off to the people that do it in the studio.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So do you have any plans for wrestling after your college career, or how do you see yourself fitting wrestling within your life?
Like my goal is to graduate with 2 master's degrees and then go be a coach at a college somewhere. That's from the coaching standpoint, but you know, I like to compete. So if my body holds up, I like to try to go for the Olympics and all that, just to see how far I can go.
Yeah. I heard you mention that you want to leave with 2 degrees, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
What are you studying, and can you elaborate on what you want to do with that as well?
So I'm studying communications right now. I want to get a master's in that and then a master's in business. And I either want to go to Microsoft or the CIA afterwards.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful to hear. So another question I have for you, Keagan. Who introduced you to wrestling or sports in general? So how did you find yourself being, yeah, I want to do wrestling?
So that's a funny story that I always get asked. So I was playing football Little League when I was little, and my quarterback, he wrestled, and his dad told my dad that I couldn't run in wrestling like I do in football, and my dad's competitive. And that was on a Friday, and that Monday I was in wrestling practice. So basically my dad, you know, was being competitive, and you're not going to tell my son he can't do nothing. So.
All right. So last question for you, Keagan. What would be your advice to any wrestler coming up right now?
Just enjoy the process. You can't wrestle forever. You know, life is going to hit you at some point that you have to face reality and get a big boy job. So just enjoy the process, have fun with it, and always have a smile on your face.
Well, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Wolves Weekly will be right back after the break.
How do you know when you've made the right decision? It's the feeling you get in your gut. The one that tells you what's right or wrong. It's the one that says, sure, I can have a drink. Or the feeling that says, okay, I've been drinking. Now what? It's the voice inside you that says, I'm buzzed. Better leave the car when it's time to go. Plan ahead. Catch a sober ride. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
Welcome back to Wolves Weekly. I'm Tucker Moore. With so many international students who attend school here at Newberry College, our team has the story about one player who comes from far away but now calls Newberry home.
For most college athletes, summer is a break, but one of our very own took his talents overseas for the experience of a lifetime.
Yeah, so my team and I, we went to Jeju Island in South Korea over the summer for the U20 Men's World Championships. We stopped in Japan on the way there, so we had a 3 or 4 day layover in Japan, just kind of getting our feet under us. We scrimmaged Team Japan and Team Australia, and it was just good to get out there with the team like before we started actually playing the games and get our feet under us and get the climate, get adjusted to the climate and all that sort of stuff. So,
Raynon O'Kirkley, a member of the Newberry men's lacrosse team, represented Team Canada at the U20 World Lacrosse Championships this past summer, held in Korea and Japan from August 15th to August 24th, 2025.
Yeah, so the actual tournament, as I said, was on Jeju Island in South Korea. It's a little island about an hour plane ride south of mainland Korea. And then in Japan, we just went to Tokyo. So it was super nice in Tokyo. We did a lot of sightseeing as well as playing lacrosse. So it was definitely cool playing lacrosse in the Pacific, like on a little island in the Pacific, just kind of a surreal experience for myself and all my teammates. And then the tournament went well. We played 6 teams, and that spanned from the United States, Haudenosaunee. We played Australia, Jamaica, and then the United States again.
Competing against the best young talent on the planet, Raynon brought his skills, pride, and passion to the global stage. In a historic moment for Canadian lacrosse, the U20 national team captured its first ever gold medal at the World Championships.
Great experiences playing with the best of the best, and not just with my team, but with all the other teams there. You know, that's really the best talent that the world has to offer at the U20 level. So it was awesome just being around guys that, you know, play at the highest level every day, and they always are working hard, putting in the extra minutes, putting in the extra work just to get to where they are. And as far as the coaching was, it was amazing. Team Canada's coach is Gary Gate. He's the head coach at Syracuse for men's lacrosse. And so that was just crazy because he wasn't even like, he was our best coach, but the assistant coaches as well. You know, Mark Miyashida at Canisius, and Wilkins over at RIT, and Galan over at Denver. We just had so many like high talent coaches that really just produced such a good energy for our team. Not only in like schematics and stuff like that, but just generating that culture that ultimately helped us win at the end. We really came together as a team because of our coaching staff.
This experience was more than just lacrosse. It was about representing his country, learning new cultures, and growing as a player and person.
Yeah, it was absolutely surreal, you know, just knowing that we took down the United States for the first time ever. It was kind of like something that no one really expected, and you know, for us to be able to do it, it was huge. So not only just like for like the sport and our team, but just kind of for our culture and like our country as well.
From Canada to Korea to the Wolves' home turf, Raynon continues his lacrosse journey and brings the international experience back to Newberry, pushing himself and his teammates to reach new heights this season. Maddie Schiffbauer, NCTV.
There is a road laid out for me.
Boxes everywhere. And this is gonna be Addie's room.
I am blind,
You're really gonna like it.
I hope so. Yeah. I know this road is there for me. There is a long way.
First night here, but Amy seems cool.
Waist down by the river. I am blind, but I need not see.
I got this.
I know this road is there for me.
Okay.
If I'm really free, take me down to the river and wash me.
Welcome back to Wolves Weekly. Now let's get to the scoreboard and get you caught up with all the action that took place over the past week. It was a weekend of highs and lows for the Newberry College women's volleyball team as they wrapped up a 2-match road stretch in South Atlantic Conference play. On Friday night, the Wolves put on an incredible fight on the road at Tusculum, battling their way to a thrilling 5-set victory. After dropping the first set, Newberry found its rhythm behind some strong offensive play. Carol Ann Hussey powered the attack with 18 kills and 4 blocks, while Samantha Schaefer and Anna Schneider added key points and steady defense to push the Wolves over the top, helping Newberry pull out the 3-2 win, capped off by a 7-0 start in the decisive 5th set. But less than 24 hours later, the Wolves ran into tough Lincoln Memorial squad inside Mary Mars Gymnasium. Despite another solid showing, Newberry came up short in a 3-1 loss. Hussey again led the offense with 13 kills on a 42.9 hitting average. while Jana Price and Anna Schneider added depth across the board. With the weekend split, Newberry moves to 9-9 overall and 4-7 in conference play.
It was a hard-fought night for the Newberry College men's soccer team, but the Wolves came up short in a 2-0 loss to Emory Henry on Saturday at the Smith Road Complex. With the results, Newberry moves to 5-3-4 overall and 1-3-4 in South Atlantic Conference play. The match started as a defensive battle, with both sides holding firm through the opening 45 minutes. But in the second half, Emory Henry finally broke through, scoring in the 72nd minute, then striking again just 3 minutes later to put the game out of reach. Despite trailing, the Wolves continued to press forward, creating several chances and keeping pressure on the Wasp defense throughout the half. Goalkeeper Charlie Clark turned in another solid performance with 4 saves across the full 90 minutes. Offensively, Newberry tallied 7 total shots and a pair of corner kicks.
Continuing with soccer, the Newberry College women's soccer team battled hard on Saturday afternoon, earning a 1-1 draw against Emory Henry at the Smith Road Complex. It was a tough performance that gave the Wolves a key South Atlantic Conference point in front of their home crowd. With the result, Newberry moves to 5-4-3 overall and 1-4-2 in conference play. Emory Henry struck first, hitting the net in the final seconds of the opening half. But the Wolves came out energized in the second half. In the first 71st minute, Molly Courtley buried a shot inside the box, making it her 3rd goal of the season. This leveled the match at 1 apiece. Newberry finished with 13 total shots and 6 on goal. On defense, Madison Gutierrez came up big once again, recording 5 saves to help preserve the draw.
The Newberry College field hockey team closed out its South Atlantic Conference schedule in dominant fashion Saturday afternoon, cruising past Converse 8-2 at Setzler Field. With the win, the Wolves finished their league slate undefeated and remained perfect for the season at 14-0 overall and 10-0 in sack play, firmly holding the top spot in the conference. And they wasted no time setting the tone. Just 3 minutes in, Parker Keeler opened the scoring, and moments later, and Emma Westbrook went to work, netting back-to-back goals, both assisted by Liette Varenkamp, to make it 3-0 after the first quarter. Augustina Montserrat added one of her own to give Newberry a commanding 5-0 lead at halftime. Newberry pushed the margin 7-1, heading to the final frame. Keeler capped off the scoring in the closing seconds with her 2nd goal of the day, sealing the emphatic 8-2 victory. Westbrook led the way with 3 goals and an assist, while Keeler finished with 2 goals and a helper. The Wolves outshot Converse 29-3 and held a massive 21-3 edge in shots on goal. With the win, Newberry completes a perfect conference season and improves to 14-0 overall that keeps them ranked #1 in the SAC.
The student athletes of the week are freshman Merrick Brackett from the women's volleyball team and junior Quez Spells from the Newberry College football team. Merrick Brackett has a career high of 128 assists, 68 digs, and 10 service aces. Quez Spells ended the Emory Henry game this past Saturday with 120 all-purpose yards and 2 touchdowns. And as always, don't forget that you can find the latest on Newberry College athletics at newberrywolves.com. You can find all the headlines, check the stats, learn how the teams are getting ready for the next game, see the latest schedules, and get your official Wolves merchandise. All this and more is available anytime you want it, anywhere you are, at newberrywolves.com. And now let's take a look at the weekend slate of games for your Newberry Wolves. And that's all for this edition of Wolves Weekly. I'm Tucker Moore.
And I'm Philip Wade. Join us next time for more Wolves Weekly.